Good evening to the Codman Square Neighborhood Council. Good evening to the Codman Square community. My name is Cynthia Loesch-Johnson and I'm president of the Codman Square Neighborhood Council. Welcome to our September monthly community meeting. Unfortunately, we must start this meeting once again processing another incident of police violence, another incident of a shooting of an unarmed Black man by the police with the recent shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He was shot 7 times in the back in front of his children. And we ask again why the exercise of undue and excessive force continues to take place. Why is this behavior not viewed immediately as a crime and dealt with accordingly? I know we are hurt. I know we're frustrated, we're outraged, we're angry. And again, we are questioning what we can do. I want to share a few of the things that some of the neighborhood council members have been doing. We encourage you to continue to work to improve the community to address systemic racism. In 2020, should we have to fight for human and civil rights? No, but here we are. We encourage you to support each other and yourself. Take care of your physical health. We're still fighting a pandemic. We still have to survive this pandemic. And you saw in our last meeting with the Boston Public Health Commission, it's one that's killing people in our community disproportionately. And we must maintain our mental health as well. Because this virus, it's been relentless and we're not in the clear. We've been really focusing on making sure the narrative doesn't change. This didn't start with looting and destruction of property. And anyone that starts the conversation there is a bit confused. This started with police officers continuing to harm unarmed Black people. And this is about some people taking issue with protests focused on Black lives and speaking up very loudly against that, but not speaking up as loudly when there are armed and dangerous vigilantes taking action. And it's really terrifying and unacceptable. We encourage you to be mindful about how you spend your time, where you spend your money, what you invest in. It's important to support those that support you and your family and your community. If you are privileged enough to not have to worry about the color of your skin impacting how you are treated in this country, we ask you to be aware of your privilege and use it for good to help others. And finally, we encourage people to vote, 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 vote. We can't say that enough. And on that note, I'm actually going to ask Chantal Barbosa from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services to talk about voting in the upcoming election, because remember, we all have to do our part and we all have a role. Chantal?
Thank you, Cynthia. Good evening to the Codman Square Neighborhood Council and the community. As Cynthia mentioned, my name is Chantal Barbosa, and I am your liaison to the Mayor's Office and Neighborhood Services, and I'm also the liaison to the Cape Verdean community here in the city of Boston. So let's definitely start with voting. So as you all might know already, the state primary election is on September 1st. Boston is having in-person voting for all elections with safety protocols and PPE due to COVID-19. Some poll locations have actually been moved out of senior buildings for resident safety, and the city did notify registered voters if they had been impacted by polling location changes. As you may know, this past weekend was early voting for the state primary, so for those that did great, you have tomorrow if you didn't participate in early voting. The city also has placed a ballot drop box in the lobby of City Hall. It is available from Monday to Friday. You do not have to make an appointment, but voters will be screened for COVID symptoms upon entering the building. You can drop off your completed mail-in ballot by September 1st also there. For this particular community, for the Codman Square, there is a voting poll at 450 Washington Street, and that is the Codman Square Tech Center. So I did do a little research just to see where some polls are around your community. So that should be one that would be for you all. Cynthia, this is all for voting. I do have updates for community process and abutters meetings. But for those, Cynthia, if you can make me a host, I actually will just share real quick. So I also host abutters meetings for applicants that are trying to engage with the community about any project that they're trying to develop in your neighborhood. To make the information a little bit more accessible, I know the applicants have to notify abutters that live 300 feet from the area where the project is being proposed. But I've also created a community process Google sheet. I'm just trying to pull it up before I start sharing my screen. And there, what I do, I'll add all the meetings that I have scheduled so far. And again, all the meetings are virtual. We are not utilizing Zoom, we're utilizing an application called WebEx. And on this Excel sheet, I basically have all the addresses that I've scheduled meetings for. If you see red, it's because it was canceled. If you see that it's highlighted in yellow, it's because it already happened. I'm also trying to organize it a little bit better, so you can see on this tab is meetings that happen in July and August. Tonight I actually have one at 6:30, so I'll be hopping out. But feel free, I did share this with Cynthia, so please feel free to share this with members in the community. If you want to be in my mail list, please email me as well. My email, I'll put it on the chat, but I'll say it out loud for folks that might not see the chat. It's my first name, CHANTAL, last name Barbosa, BARBOSA, at boston.gov. So here you'll find the address, the purpose, so what are you trying to build, the date, time, meeting link. For folks that do not have a smartphone or laptop device, they can definitely call in and there's a phone number and a password for that. So you might get my notification first, and that tends to be a red flag for some folks because they're questioning where are the flyers. And I just wanted to remind folks that applicants do have 6 to 11 days. So I might send you this information as soon as I schedule with them. So don't freak out if that happens. I know there's a couple presentations tonight. So you'll be able to engage tonight as well and provide feedback for the applicants. Any other questions about development? I don't think there's any other projects that I have right now on my list, Cynthia, other than the ones that we talked about, which will be presented tonight.
2 questions for you, Chantal. Can this presentation be shared as well through YouTube? Like, can I share the link?
Yeah, you can share this for sure.
And then we were aware of trainings that were taking place so that residents could be more familiar with the platform for the zoning hearings. Is there a link to those trainings that can be shared as well?
I've been sharing, for some folks that reached out to me, I've just been sharing links that are on YouTube that helps you how to download WebEx. You don't have to create an account to be able to join because it can cost. So I don't encourage folks to create an account unless they want to, but you should be able to engage with the application a lot more better if you actually have it downloaded in your computer. So I send tutorial videos of that, and they're all on YouTube, and also just how to navigate it. The cool thing about it is that I try to get on the link a few minutes before, and we all have a couple of sites that kind of help folks navigate, either if they're on the application on the phone. But I can share with you some links via email that you can share with the community to help them navigate the application. Because I know folks are just finally learning how to manage Zoom, and now we have a different app to learn to. So I'll share that with you later.
Great, thank you so much. Erica, any other questions for Chantal?
Awesome. Thank you so much, y'all. I'm gonna jump off and go to my buddy. Oh, yes, Erica.
No questions.
Okay, alrighty. Thank you so much, Cynthia. You all have a good night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your updates.
Bye.
Let's get back on track. Let's move along on the agenda. We now have Keshler Sanon from the Bold Teens, who will tell us what the teens have been up to this summer.
Hi, my name is Keshler Sanon. I am a Bold Teen coordinator. And this summer, mainly we've been focused on the market, but also we have helped at Oasis Farm. And that's a local farm in Dorchester where they grow fresh produce and they also sell it at the farmer's market. And we've also been talking about possibly doing some kind of something where we can, I don't want to say like a gathering because of everything going on, but something that we could do at the park that's, that's kind of fun, some event that we could do for the summer where people are keeping their distance and, people could still enjoy themselves. So that's just something we've been talking about.
Excellent. We appreciate the leadership of the Bold Teens. You guys are doing really great work in the community, assisting Shamara with the Codman Square Farmers Market, making sure we have fresh local organic produce coming into Codman Square. You guys did a really great job with the menthol ban in Massachusetts, protecting young people and our community from the tobacco industry. I know you've just had a very busy summer, so I want to thank all of you for spending your time working to improve the health of the community. We're now going to hear from Shamara Rhodes. She's the Codman Square Farmers Market Manager.
Hello, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm like in a stairway.
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hello to the Codman Square community. As Cynthia said, my name is Shamara Rhodes. I'm the Codman Square Farmers Market Manager. The Codman Square Farmers Market is held every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can get your first come, first serve on the beans. I don't know if you've been there, but there's like these infamous beans that everybody gets every Saturday that they're lined up for. So at the market, you'll have access to fruits and veggies. There's almost every single veggie there that you can have. And our carrots are very organic. Some people question the carrots because they're huge, but our carrots are not plumped with anything. They are organically grown, and the farms will definitely tell you that. Speaking of farms, our farms are Riverdale farm, Oasis, which is down the street from us on Baloo, and her farm. Let's see. We've been having, so far since the market started, the City of Boston coupon program, we've been given a grant that we've been graciously been using to engage the area and the community around us to have people lined up for the first 50 or 100 customers or like that on Saturdays. And definitely the Mass Farmers Market coupon program. So that's like $2.50. But we usually give out $10 to $15 per customer. And then we'll switch back and forth sometimes between the City of Boston coupon program, depending on the timing of everything. Usually, typically on a Saturday, just some insight, typically on a Saturday, between 11 to 11:20, the coupons, the first 50 or 60 or whatever so is gone just within that, like within 20 minutes. So we try to space it out. We try to make sure we do it orderly, make sure that people are lined up, they're not pushing or cutting each other. But that just shows that there's a need there for this program. So that we're definitely grateful. And everybody's excited also too, just to have fresh fruit in the neighborhood. The next grocery store is not too far. Well, it is far. So we want to have something locally that's like right there in the center of the neighborhood. We love America's Food Basket, but we have 3 farms every week providing blueberries, kale, fresh kale from Oasis, spinach, you name it. So if there are any questions, I know I sped fast and I'm like walking down backwards down the stairs. Y'all probably seen like 3 backgrounds.
So Shamara, you shared that there's the City of Boston coupon program and there's also the Mass Farmers Market coupon program. How long will we have those resources available to us at the Codman Square Farmers Market?
So currently right now, the City of Boston coupon program, that is, I'll say in words like fading out. We try to provide like on the back end to the farm. So a lot of people come with, I believe you can use like the coupons at different markets as long as they accept it. So people will come with like $5 coupons already from like if they went to a different market, or a $2.51. So that program itself is ending September. I want to say the first week of September, second week of September. And then the grant program is until the grant runs out. So we encourage people, if there's vendors, food vendors, if you know food vendors who would like to participate and, you know, they got certified and approved, we'll definitely love to have them just to wind out the rest of the year. We've had Babu so far come and sell his ginger drinks. We've had Simply Oko, who sells the Simas, to come and help out, because they've been the top, I'll say top 2 vendors who've been selling, like, you know, natural, healthy drinks that people love, especially Babu. Everybody loves the ginger drinks, and it's pure. Yeah. But if there's any more grants that you would love, so our vendors can, you know, if there's any grants that you all know of that we can have, definitely to give to our vendors, we would love it. This summer has been like a tricky and crazy one. So I know a lot of our vendors somewhat got like a lot of cutback and losses. So we try to figure out how to engage and incorporate everybody. Most of our vendors have like online platforms that we try to promote. So right now it's just like a circle. So for you all, what you can do for me is show up on Saturday at 11 o'clock and buy fresh produce, so we can keep going and have this in the neighborhood and keep our farms happy, so that they keep coming back on Saturdays.
Excellent. Thank you, Shamara. Without your leadership, we wouldn't have access to this wonderful resource. And, you know, our community is starved of having fresh, local, organic produce in the neighborhood. So we really appreciate you keeping the market going and keeping us safe during COVID.
Thank you, Cynthia, for your leadership. It's taught by the best. Codman Square is like a real family. Everybody's depends on each other. So, and we also accept WIC, and there's like WIC coupons. Sorry, I just wanted to add that in too. I'm not sure the exact name, but there's WIC who gives out coupons, but our farms take those coupons as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Shamara.
You're welcome. And sorry if y'all see my friend Rashim's face. My phone is like not compatible right now. So, but I'm not Rashim.
Thank you. Moving along in the agenda. Wait till Rashim's face is gone. Moving along in the agenda, we will now hear from representatives from the Boston Medical Center. We have Nebulla Stephen. She's a nurse at BMC. She's also a past president of the Codman Square Neighborhood Council and has done a lot of community organizing in our neighborhood. And she and her team are going to talk about the importance of breast cancer awareness.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Let me do this. All right, so good evening, Codman Square. It is so good to be here and with you all. I wish that we were in the Great Hall all together and talking with each other, because there's so many good things happen when neighbors are face to face and get to talk to each other, connect. And that's how the farmers market was born. That's how a lot of the work that the boldteens do has been going on. So Shamara, thank you so much for all your work and all the boldteens as well. As Cynthia mentioned, my name is Nebulla Stephen. I was a former resident of Codman Square, and my mom still lives there. But Codman is very close to my heart. So I'm here actually tonight with my colleague and my other partner. This is Dr. Naomi Ko, and she's on here tonight as well. So we're from Boston Medical Center and from the Breast Oncology Department. So we just wanted to kind of like talk a little bit about breast cancer awareness, actually Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. So I'm not sure if everybody knew that or remembered, but you'll start to see those pink ribbons come out, and sometimes athletes are wearing the pink cleats and donating to different organizations working specifically with breast cancer. Let me see, Dr. Ko, are you on right now?
Yes, I am. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. So at least you can see her right now. Do you want to introduce yourself before we start a little bit?
Sure. I'm Dr. Ko, and I've been working at Boston Medical Center for over 10 years. I have a lot of dear patients of mine from the Codman neighborhood area. So I really feel very attached to everyone, and thanks for having us tonight.
Awesome. So just as we're mentioning, so I started with Boston Medical Center, honestly, like in the height of COVID. So it's been a whirlwind, and so awesome to learn from Dr. Ko and all the work that she's been doing with breast cancer patients, but also research. So I'm not going to bore you guys to tears with a lot of facts or whatever, but like just in terms of the state of Massachusetts in 2017, the Centers of Disease Control has so much information if you wanted to go on. Female breast cancer rates are on the very high place. So you see that right in front of lung cancer. And more specifically, I wanted to point out is like survival. So 89% of women by 5 years have survived breast cancer. That's a huge number. So that means really that the amount of treatments today for breast cancer means that there's such a good chance of surviving it. I did want to note, because this is why I got into this work, that there is a difference between race. So you can see in this quick slide is that when Black women do have a decreased survival at the 5-year mark. And that's a little bit scary when you think about it, right? Because in our community, we have high rates of asthma, high rates of heart disease, high rates of diabetes, all these things together. So there's a lot of work and really awesome research that's going on that Dr. Ko is doing specifically around health disparities within the breast cancer world. So it's something that kind of brings pause for that. But something that I wanted to kind of push for us is to think about American Cancer Society, they have their recommendations, right? And all I do want to say though really is that when a woman has any kind of questions in her breast tissue, anything, she should get screened. She should ask her doctor. And one thing I hope is that as a provider is that my patients can say to me, you know what, I think something's going on. And that is the best thing, to have that close relationship. I want to share a personal story. So my mom gets her mammogram every year without fail. She is lined up, ready to go. She's from Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, this woman won't take medication. She's going and she's going to grow a bush, boil a tea, something like that. She's not going to take any medications at all. She's not a smoker, anything. So one year she went and got her annual mammogram and it came back weird. So we said, well, we don't have any risk factors, Mom. Let's just go with the flow. So it came back and it was actually positive for breast cancer. So we were like, well, you know what? I did some reading. It looks like you might just end up needing surgery. It's no big deal. You'll be fine. Turns out my mom had the most aggressive form of breast cancer. Now, how was that, right? My mom, within the span of a year, had breast cancer, and she went every single year. My mom needed surgery. She needed chemotherapy. She needed radiation. She's 7 years out now, right? So we've passed the 5-year survival mark. But if my mom missed that year, her cancer would be everywhere. So it would be a completely different conversation that I'd be having, a completely different feeling about this, because the later we get to care and to see doctors, to see medical providers, the worse chances we have. And I get it, right? Why go in? Why, if something's not broke, don't fix it. I don't want to know. Maybe you have a relative that's passed away suddenly, went into the hospital, and then they just died from cancer. But we can't be afraid of this. We have to be able to say, you know what, this is part of my health and I'm going to take my health seriously and get checked out and just make sure that everything's in a row. And even if you say, you know what, I could miss it this year, just get it done, because it makes all the world of a difference. That time meant everything for my mom. And I couldn't believe it that my mom had breast cancer. So what I wanted to just push even more is to contact us. It's not we're not doing a huge presentation today, because I think I'd love to just be with everybody in the council together, but that's our personal email. And I say that because Dr. Ko gives her information to all her patients. I think the best thing about working with her is that she talks the talk and walks it. And a patient will come in and say, I don't know, I'm thinking about this, maybe I'll take my medications. She's like, I'm gonna show up at your house. Now, people say that all the time, right? But she actually does it. She does it. She shows up. And you know what? Patients are flabbergasted because she cares so much. That's the type of team we are at Boston Medical Center. That's the type of team we are in breast oncology. You call on us for anything. You need a ride there? Okay, let's get you a ride. You're having a hard time, just like with the farmers market, making sure people can purchase their foods and have discounts. We'll find a way. You can't get your medications today? Oh, we'll get it for you. Don't worry. we are there. And just like Codman Square, we're a family. So we take it really, really personally to make sure that everyone is taken care of. And I think that that's because Dr. Ko cares so much about her work and that everyone should be treated equitably, right? And that everyone has these opportunities to be healthy, be happy, and see all these parts of your life that you want as possible. And I think that for me, being able to be that person in a care team for someone else, because if you think about it, you know, it could be your mom, your sister, your aunt, your niece, like this goes out even further. So it means so much to me to be here tonight. And we're going to try and take this to other neighborhood groups as well, you know, beyond Breast Cancer Awareness Month, because this is our lives. This is our future. And it's right now. And I think it's even more important where we see that beautiful star, Chadwick, in our midst, in front of us, was suffering. And he was young, he was Black, you know? So I'm just so happy to be here and be able to say, you know, thank you for the people that took care of my mom. And thank you to my mom for going a lot to the hospital and getting checked out. But I wanted to toss it over to Dr. Ko and see if she wanted to add anything.
Man, that's a tough act to follow, girl. Man, I got like choked up and everything. I'm so flattered and I'm really just honored to be like here and have the opportunity to just let you all know how much we care and how much we care about the community and how much we're really there and we get it. And I tell people all the time, you know, we don't take care of breast cancer. We take care of the patient who has breast cancer. So come as you are and let us take care of you and contact us and spread the word. We're here for you all. So thanks again. Great job, Nebi. That was awesome.
Thank you. So Cynthia, I throw it back to you or any questions.
Thank you. Nebi, Dr. Ko, we really appreciate your presentation and you taking time out of your busy lives to be on this meeting tonight. It's really refreshing to hear from medical professionals and hear that they care about us, they care about our well-being, they care about health equity, because this is what you know, we're fighting for in our neighborhoods. We're really fighting to figure out ways to, you know, reduce the health inequities and the health disparities that exist within our neighborhood. One of the questions we have here, we're hearing loud and clear, we need to get checked. We need to get checked annually. But how can we lower our risk for breast cancer other than our annual screenings?
That's a great question. And I'll just pipe in and say that the large majority of the breast cancers are nothing that someone necessarily did. So a lot of patients are like, what did I do to get this? Like, and they do a lot of self-blame. And I really want to spread that message out that there's nothing you did. And there's not like, I just think it's so important for people to hear that. And that's just like really, really hard. But I will say a couple things you can do to prevent breast cancer that we know of, that the science shows us, is not to smoke, because smoking elevates your breast cancer risk. Regular exercise is really important. So being able to have maybe 30 minutes of real, like, get your heart rate going, exercise 3 times a week is what I tell people. Trying to keep your weight down, because we know that obesity and cancer are linked. And that's not just for breast cancer, but that's for all cancers. And finally, the other one that we really know is alcohol. So alcohol with breast cancer is linked. And so the more you drink, the more your risk goes up for breast cancer. So I tell people, and it's not reasonable to tell people they're never going to drink, you know, but I'm like, if you have 2 drinks, how about 1? You know, like, just try to cut back, and that will help your breast cancer risk a little bit. So those are the kind of main things, but a lot of it you can't control. So that's why having a doctor you trust and getting your mammograms and raising your hand and saying, I got a problem and I need to get it taken care of, and not to wait, is really important. And know that you've got people on your side. I don't think the medical system has been on your side for a lot of people for a long time, but we want to change that narrative. And Nevi and I are so committed to that. We really care about taking care of people. So that's what we want to say.
Excellent. Erica, any other questions? I don't think so. Let's see here. Thank you both so much. We appreciate you. I'm going to reclaim host.
Okay.
Excellent. Moving along in the agenda, we have Eileen Rosa from Rosa Design Construction, and her team will be talking about 654 Washington Street and what's being proposed there. Eileen?
Good evening, Codman Square community. Sorry if I get a little nervous when I'm not used to this type of meetings via Zoom. But anyways, like Cynthia said, my name is Eileen Rosa from Rosa Design and Construction. I am the actual general contractor who is helping the owner of the beauty salon that is being proposed. Her name is Caridad. She's right here with me, Caridad Sanchez. So basically, 654 Washington Street, it was a vacant unit where there was some work done under a short form with the intention of apply for a change of occupancy and have put a Dominican beauty salon, to say it that way. We are very well known and hairstyles and all this stuff. So she's really good, by the way. The thing is that when we applied for to change the occupancy, it turns, even though it's zoned in a neighborhood shopping area right on Washington Street, the plans examiner calls for violation under the Article 65, Section 15, saying that a beauty salon, it's a conditional use. So that's why we are here today. Just so we are clear, Caridad applied. She is leasing this place for exactly a year now. She started work under short form, regular short form, which is already, it was just a minor plumbing work that was done, and we even have the permit here signed off. And this was done under another general contractor. So when I came in to help her with the change of occupancy, that's when everything came up with the use regulation situation. So that's all we have for now. It's a 864 square feet commercial unit, and her intention here is just to change the occupancy and be able to put her business there.
Great. Thank you for your presentation. Let me see what the questions are here. So I don't think you intended to open under the COVID guidelines. How are you guys preparing to keep you yourselves and your customers safe?
So there's definitely a plan involved. We would definitely have to put all the requirements by the city. Obviously keeping all the social distancing and requirements, plus any additional ways to keep people away, or maybe, who knows, maybe we should start with keeping less people or appointments only. So that's a plan that we can definitely share with you later on, and see specifically on that end how to deal with it. Maybe less capacity or whatever it takes to do it. We'll have to get it done, of course.
Okay. Another comment here is, we can send you a link to last month's meeting, but we had extensive discussions about what currently exists in Codman Square. And in our merchants district, there are more than 31 beauty and or hair, like nail salons, beauty salon type establishments. And so I think the community is struggling with wanting to support small business and support these entities, but then also trying to find a balance of how do we create more diversity in the neighborhood in terms of what establishments are available to us. So we hope you guys can be a part of those conversations and those dialogues that we're having, just trying to change the built environment and what we have access to in Codman Square. But we are really grateful and appreciative that you're sharing the work that you're doing and introducing yourself to the council in this way, because you guys are moving along, and we want to make sure that we're all good neighbors.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving along in the agenda, we will now hear from Patrick Mahoney, and he'll be talking about 32 Brent Street. It's a proposed conversion of a 2-family to a 3-family.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate that. And I apologize for any technical difficulties we're having. We're still getting used to the remote presentations. The proposal that we have before you tonight is at 32 Brent Street, which is an existing 2-family structure in a 1-family zoning subdistrict. Our own property owner and developer is Cassie Satterley, who's on the meeting tonight as well. She had purchased the property some time ago, I would say approximately 9 months ago, and has retained our services recently. Initially, this property, Cassie had started with a contractor who had represented that it was zoning compliant, and had started work without a permit. Since that time, that contract has been terminated. She is now working with a new contractor and has hired us to go through the permitting process to take the existing 2-family home, which consisted of 8 bedrooms and had parking on the left side, and is proposing to square off the roof, converting it to a 3-family to be resold as condos for home ownership. Again, the zoning for the area is a 1F 7,000 zoning subdistrict. And some of the relief that we're seeking is for FAR, which is floor area ratio. It's just the number of living space as it relates to the lot size. The existing building was not in compliance, and we're somewhat furthering that. The proposal is approximately 4,650 square feet of living space. The FAR for the area is 0.4, and we are at about 0.7. Each unit will consist of 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and have its own parking space. We did have an ONS abutters meeting, and some of the feedback that we received was to reduce the number of parking. It was commented that the parking that we had was cluttering the yard and that there was too much paved space. So Cassie's team went back and they redesigned the backyard, which is previously paved, and has decided to put grass back there and eliminate all the front yard parking, which also eliminates a violation.
Can I just jump in half a second? Cynthia, can you take me off host? I need to restart the program to get this up.
Okay, just did.
If anyone is from Codman Square has been by the site recently, it has been demoed, as I mentioned previously before we started. So there would be familiar that the height of the building, we are seeking a height relief for a height violation, not as in vertical distance above grade. The height will still be 35 feet, but it's the number of stories. The top floor will be expanded to span the whole floor instead of the pitched roof, which is a partial story. And that's an element of zoning relief that we're seeking. The existing building will stay, rather the foundation of it. There is a reconfiguration of the front and side that hopefully we'll be able to show you in the presentation. Again, I apologize for that. This has been kind of an ongoing challenge.
All right, you should have it shared. That's the existing view. Am I correct?
Yep, so that's great. So this was the existing building as it stood before the demolition took place. Again, there was a partial demolition that took place from the previous contractor that had represented to our client, Casey, that he did have a permit, although he did not. We were not involved at this point. And the contractor had since taken a large sum of money in deposits from our client, which is it's a separate matter. But this was what the building looked like. It was a 2-family side by side, 4 bedrooms on each side. and a top cupola. That height of that cupola is about 35 feet, which is the zoning height for the area. But although we are seeking height relief, as I mentioned, the height will be the same. The difference in Dorchester and Article 65, the way height is measured is two ways. One, it's the vertical distance above grade, and the other is a number of stories. So here's what we have. We're proposing as a 3-family, and instead of a 3-story or 2.5-story duplex on each side, the proposal is for 3 condos, and floors 1 through 3 will be floor-through condos with their own parking space. And each will consist of 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Additionally, the parking required for this proposal is 3 parking spaces, 1 for each unit in Article 65. Initially, going into it, we had, I think, 6 parking spaces. In the neighborhood comments that we received was that it felt that it cluttered the site. There was too much parking and not enough green space. So there is 2 trees on the site now. We're going to be, Casey will be doing some landscaping in the backyard as well as in the front. Hold on. I apologize. I have my 4-year-old daughter with me, and I'm just doing the best I can. 1 second, honey. We do, as I mentioned, there's 2 trees that are there now. One will be hopefully restored. The other one may have to be removed during the construction, but we will put trees back in its place and do landscaping on the front as well as the rear. The rear is paved now, and it will be grass. That was some of the feedback that we received from the community. I think with that, we could, if we had, I know we have only had 10 minutes, but if we have 1 minute for questions, we'd be happy to field them.
So I have a comment here. Residents on Brent Street are happy to see that something's finally happening with that site. And I guess they want to know timeline, what that might look like. And I guess there was also a question about an abutters meeting and what the abutters response was.
Yes, so we had one abutters meeting, and we agreed to have another one. The primary comments were that there was too much parking. They wanted to see reduced parking. We had a curb cut that was larger, and they wanted to see that reduced, and that's been done. Other comments were about restoring the existing structure. We did take a look at that a little bit, and the owners decided and talked to Landmarks a little bit on his own, and determined that this is the proposed building that he would like to go with. It is reminiscent of the time period, a similar time period to when the building was built, and somewhat consistent with the other buildings in the neighborhood. It is like a craftsman style 3. We will have another buddies meeting, and we'll reach out to Patrick Mandel to schedule that.
And timeline?
After the other abutters meeting, we'll have a ZBA date. After ZBA, it's a 20-day appeal period, and then we'll have about 10 days to submit all of our information to the plans examiner at ISD. Upon then, a permit will be issued. They did hire an additional another contractor after the zoning process is completed, and my guess would be it would be about 9 months from that period. There's not a new foundation taking place, but it is a lot of construction. So I would guess 9 to 12 months of construction.
And what was the square footage of each of the condo units?
Each of the units is about approximately 1,400 to 1,500 square feet. Unit 1 is 1,400 square feet. Unit 2 is 1,485 square feet. And Unit 3 is 1,525 square feet, including the stairwell going up to it. The building will be sprinkled. It wasn't previously, and everything will be updated in compliance with 521 CMR, as well as compliant with the IBC International Building Code, the 9th edition.
Okay, I think those are all the questions we have. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thanks so much.
Take us off, host.
Yes. Let me do that.
Thank you, Codman Square, again. We appreciate the opportunity, and I do apologize for technical difficulties and appreciate your patience going through this unusual time. It is good to see everyone again.
We will now hear from Dustin from Councilor Andrea Campbell's office.
Good evening, Common Square Neighborhood Council. Standing in tonight for my colleague Ellie, who's typically here. So happy to see you all. I work for City Councilor Andrea Campbell. A few things that I wanted to highlight for you all tonight. First off, our work around police reform. So there are three police reform and criminal justice. So 3 major hearings coming up that we'll be holding. So first one is actually the 2nd, so this Wednesday, on violence prevention grants. So this is a hearing that we've held in the past as well to examine how different federal and state funding is being used as grants for different violence prevention efforts. We really just want to make sure that the organizations that are receiving these funds are using them as effectively as possible, and really have been trying to have a conversation about how can we actually have a common way of tracking success and benchmarks for these organizations, some of which have been doing this for a very long time. So that hearing is going to be looking through that this Wednesday at 12:30. Also, 2 big ones next week. Next Tuesday, the 8th, at 11 a.m., we're having a hearing on our proposed civilian review board. So this is something that Councilor Campbell proposed along with Councilor Arroyo. It's a proposed ordinance for a civilian review board for the police department, something that many people have been calling for nationwide. Just that adds an extra level of accountability to our police department. So there are many cities that have this already, and you can read the ordinance. I'm going to post, there'll be links in the community announcements that we send out. And you can read the full proposed ordinance there. But essentially, some basic bullet points are, it would be an 11-member board that would not be city employees, and 6 of the board members would be appointed by the city council, and 5 would be appointed by the mayor, all residents, and they would have significant power to do investigations from civilian complaints about police department. They would be able to they would actually have subpoena power, and they would make recommendations based on their findings to the commissioner, the police commissioner. And if he chose not to go with their findings, he would have to issue a public statement of why he chose not to do so. So multiple things, and really, as is usual, a hearing is just the beginning of the conversation. But Councilor Campbell drafted this ordinance, drawing from best practices we've seen in other places and working with community partners. So that one will be a really good one to see or be a part of if you're able. Right after that, in that afternoon, actually, on September 8th at 3, there's also a hearing on police contracts as policy documents. So the city council actually doesn't have much power in negotiating contracts with the police department and the unions. That's mostly pretty much all on the mayor's side. But one thing that we can do is hold a hearing to discuss how different proposals that the mayor has made actually go into these negotiations. Things like improvements in police accountability, use of force, and things like that, how all of that wraps up in these conversations about contracts. So for those of you who may not know, our hearings are all virtual right now. If you desire to actually give testimony, we can send you the link will be in our community announcements if you take a look at that. But we can also, if you just reach out to our office, we can send you the info for the Zoom link. Otherwise, if you just want to watch, it's streaming live on Boston City Council TV, and then there's also a YouTube channel. So those are 3 major hearings that are coming up. And the other thing, a couple things that I'll note, just more generally speaking, as you all probably know, the school will be starting remotely, and which we are happy to hear, but also know that there was a lot of work even in that to do. And so one thing that the counselor and our team has been trying to work on is connecting with community partners who can help support families that can't be at home with their kids during this remote learning time, and how we support them best is really crucial. So that's something we've been trying to do, talking with partners, developing some potential strategies there. And then just as an FYI, and one big thing that the city has been doing and that we're passionate about is activating the city-owned vacant lots. And there's actually a really cool opportunity to lend your voice for, this is a little bit outside of Common Square, but there's 10 parcels on Blue Hill Ave between Talbot and Morton, I believe, that are all up for discussion. And really the Department of Neighborhood Development's hope is that we can create something that both gives affordable housing opportunities, gives economic development opportunities. So they're talking about creating an RFP that would enable business owners, small business owners, to own their own building and potentially live in the building. But all things are on the table. So some people are asking for arts and culture spaces. Some people are asking for green space on some of them. So they really want to hear community voice, and this is the time to do that as they create that RFP. So those are the main updates. Before questions, I will answer, I know before you asked if voters tomorrow who've applied for a mail-in ballot can just go vote in person, and the answer is yes, they can. They haven't already mailed in their one that they filled out. So only one ballot, but if you have received one but haven't done anything with it, you can still go in person.
Thank you so much, Dustin, and thank you to the counselors' entire team for your leadership and commitment to Common Square. I'm glad you mentioned parents and families getting ready to go back to school. What resources are available out there right now? Because I know a lot of parents are terrified, nervous, not sure what's happening. Information's changing real time. Where can we send them?
That is information that I want to know as a parent as well. We have a virtual meeting with our school tomorrow night. So I guess, stay tuned with what your school is doing. I think different schools may be coming up with slightly different strategies, and also depending on the age of your kids. So that would be my first thing is, see what the school is doing. Are they coming up with some potential partnerships for, monitoring, small groups of students in different places during this time. So we're hoping for more of those answers as well. And thankfully we have a little bit of time since our start date was pushed back. We've got a couple weeks in September, but yeah, as soon as that is made available, we'll be blasting as much of that information as we have.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the call tonight. If there are no other questions, we'll move on to the next speaker.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you. We will now hear from State Representative Russell Holmes to give us an update on what's happening at the state level.
All right, thank you so much. Apologize, but I wanted to begin with a conversation Dustin and I had because it had some impact just in the Common Square neighborhood, and that is we have been working very hard with Common Square and with the folks in Four Corners. There's been a kind of a dispute going on for a while that was really led by Teresa down the street. But as you know, Common Square is looking to build 35 units in the Four Corners area, and the neighbor and they have been having some challenges. And so I start there because I think hopefully we can come to some resolution this week or in the next couple of weeks, so that a project that we've been talking about for 4 years can at least finally get off the ground, and we can get those 35 units of affordable housing. Second, I want to do another neighborhood thing before I got to the State House, and that is there have been an enormous amount of noise along Talbot Avenue. I can tell you I was out on both Friday night and Saturday night. Friday night was an absolute horrible night. We were going until about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, where the state police, B2, and others were out just along Talbot Ave and along Bernard. Just the whole strip was just a party night. And the same thing happened again along American Legion Highway. I can tell you, as it was happening, I was texting the commissioner, the mayor, Andrea, everyone saying this is unacceptable, that this keeps happening in our neighborhoods, where folks feel like, hey, they can just come have, because there are no clubs open, they can just come and just have 300 people just on our streets making all types of noise. I live, I think, about 1.5 miles almost from where most of the people are congregating on Talbot Avenue. And if I can hear that noise into my window 1.5 miles away, I live on Wellington Hill, which is over by Morningstar Baptist. So just think all the people from Talbot Ave all the way to my house, because it was still waking me up at my house. Just imagine how disruptive that is. And kind of the challenge has been when people say, well, we don't want to call the police because of Black Lives Matter. We don't want to call the police because we don't know how they're going to respond. That to me is unacceptable. So the one side is unacceptable that we're saying that, and then the other side is saying I was pushing hard against the police because I'm asking, I show up, and there has to be at least 30 or 40 police there, at least, between the state and cops, and I would say 30. And I'm saying, why do I still hear noise if there are this many police officers here? And they're like, well, we're just trying not to be disruptive, and we're just trying to let them get it out their system. That was the answer. And I'm like, no, this is you guys being jerks because we've had this push about defunding, about Black Lives Matter and police. You guys are probably just sitting here saying, y'all don't need police? Let me show you what happens when you don't have the police show up. I honestly and genuinely feel that's what they were saying. Like, hey, since you all feel like you don't need us, this is exactly what happens when you don't call us. And so just know I am working with the counselor very hard. She and I was texting back and forth at crazy hours of the morning, just simply saying, this is truly unacceptable. And then you see the next night, you see the consequence. You see, unfortunately, the racing and the drag racing that happened on American Legion Highway, horrible incident last night. And then if I could drive and, have my phone in my hand at the same time, just driving along Stashes, the 150 to 200 people that after you push them off of Talbot Ave, they go hang at the corner of Columbia Road and Blue, and the police are just sitting there, like letting them blare their music and and unfortunately we had the shooting happen right at that place the next night. So just know that I'm not ignoring it. Just know that I'm fighting for that hard. I don't know how long I have, but let me just go to police and then I'll take a question or whatever questions you have. Know that I thought we were going to be done with police reform on July 31st. I thought that because that's what I was pushing. The Speaker, the Senate President, the Governor, we all thought we were going to get there, but I've gotten emails from folks about this qualified immunity, which is the thing that has really held up so much of the debate. I'm still focused on the 4 items that we thought were most important before qualified immunity came on board, which were, how do we hold police accountable, period. You cannot have, so how do you now have it so that we can go and we can check and we can now have a sense of who's arresting us, who's doing whatever. So how do we have what we call peace officer standard of training? So there's a certain standard of training for everyone. And then how do you be able to go to a database and know who these people are? 1. 2, use of force on chokeholds, things of that nature that we're going to just absolutely stop them happening. Have a sense of what's happening with all these military vehicles that's being bought. 3, what we're going to do about civil service, which is our police departments, our fire departments, our civil service departments are not reflective of gender and diversity across this Commonwealth. And there's something called civil service that we must reform. And there was another point on the structural racism. Those were the fundamental things that we thought we needed to do right out the gate that really is long before qualified immunity comes up. Yes, qualified immunity will allow a family to sue if civilly long past if someone is unfortunately injured or killed. I'm trying to stop the incident from ever happening. So there's no need for qualified immunity if you don't have a police officer going beyond what they're supposed to do. And so I can tell you I am pushing to make sure that it's the first thing we do when we get back after Labor Day. And I'll end there and see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Rep. Holmes. We really appreciate you addressing the unrest recently. That's why it's so important to have your elected officials live in the neighborhood, because then you're experiencing it too, you're seeing it, you understand it firsthand. So we're glad that you're on top of that.
So can I just say, Cynthia, I was out and Cherie, I'm out 1.5 miles. I'm at the place and I'm getting the texts and folks are saying, hey, do you know what's going on? Because people are emailing me and texting me. I'm saying, yes, here's a picture. I'm physically here. Stop emailing me, texting me. You don't know where it is because I know where it is, 1. But then 2, Cherie sends me from the house, so she's up now, the noise, and it's just amazing to me how much noise is happening. And so I was thankful for that. I'm saying that so you guys can know. I immediately sent that over to Marty and that whole crew to say, listen, I'm a mile away from home, and this is what Cherie's hearing at my house. This is ridiculous. Sorry to cut you off.
Right, no, and unacceptable.
For those who don't know, Cherie's my wife. Sorry.
Please tell her hello. Any updates for us with regard to the governor deploying the National Guard recently?
So what he did, I still don't have an answer for why. He did it as a preventive way, of course, of thinking about all the things, all the unrest we've seen around the country. I have not actually texted him on it. It is on my list. I don't have an update for you on why he did it, but I can tell you it has been something that has been in the news 3 or 4 times, and I'm surprised he did it without letting me know, but I don't have an answer for that question.
Okay.
But I think the other question that was asked earlier was about voting, even though obviously voting would have already happened when you broadcast this. The question was, what do you do with the ballot? I think it's the big question. You cannot take your ballot that you were going to mail, you cannot take that to the voting booth. You will have to vote at the voting booth. So just make sure everyone knows you cannot take your mail ballot to the vote, to where we vote, to the polling location.
Yes, we can't emphasize and stress that enough, so keep spreading the word. Thank you so much, Rep. Holmes. We appreciate your time and attention.
Thanks. Sorry about that the first time.
No problem. Moving along in the agenda, we will now hear from John Barry, and he'll be talking about the 6 units that are being proposed for 19 West Tremlett Street. Do you need me to make you a host, John?
Could you please, so I could share the information that I think the community is going to want to see?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, Codman Square Neighborhood Council and the Codman Square community members. If I could just have one moment to share with everybody what I think is most important. My name is John Barry. I'm a zoning attorney here in the city of Boston. I'm here to present to the community a proposal that is going through the community process right now for 19 West Tremlett Street in Dorchester, Massachusetts. The proposal is for a 6-unit building. It's going to be a new building. The proposal is for a new building on the property at 19 West Tremlett Street. With me tonight originally was the architect, Eric Zackerson from Context Architecture, located at 1 Ludlow Street in Boston, Mass. Additionally is Fernando Dalfiore, whose office is at 1 City Hall Mall, Suite number 2 in Medford, Massachusetts. Fernando is the owner and the builder for the proposal. I don't know exactly what happened with Eric. I apologize, but he unfortunately got disconnected. I don't see him back on the Zoom meeting right now, but I'm happy to go forward and present the project for the community. So what is up on the screen for everyone to see is what is called the rejection letter from the Inspectional Services Department here in Boston. What you see here are the what was cited as those items needing a variance in order for this proposal to be allowed and for a building permit to issue. I'm going to try to go over all of these, but when I go through the presentation of the drawings, I think some of the things I'm going to suggest or that I'm going to present will be more clear. The first item is a use regulation citation. What this means is that where there's a proposal for a 6-unit building in a district, that particular neighborhood in Dorchester is what's called a 3F 6000. It was originally designed as 6,000 square foot lots to have 3 families located on them. What we're proposing here is a 6-unit building on around 9,000 square feet of property. The second citation is a FAR, is excessive citation. What the FAR that is proposed is 0.69. The average for this particular neighborhood is 0.761. What the zoning code suggests is 0.4. Moving forward, there's a building height is excessive, a building height violation in stories. So what that actually means is because the proposal is what we're terming a double triple decker, the way that the zoning board views that is that that's a 3-story building. In this particular neighborhood, what is allowed is 2.5 stories. What I want everyone to be very clear about is that the actual height of the building is 32 feet 6 inches, which is shorter than what is allowed at 35 feet. But because the zoning code looks at a triple decker as 3 floors, that is seen as needing a variance. And the next two, what the project was cited for are dimensional issues as far as the front yard. The front yard is located 3 feet from the sidewalk, and the rear of the property is located 9 feet 4 inches from the rear property line. What the zoning code recommends for the front yard is 15 feet, and for the backyard is 15 feet. Now, moving on to the actual drawing set, I can show everybody that's going to be watching this why the decision was made to place the home where it was placed. So this is just a rendition. This is a picture of the existing old house on the site at 19 West Tremlett Street. This is where 19 West Tremlett Street is located within the Codman Square neighborhood. This is just a satellite image of the site of the location. These are pictures looking from West Tremlett towards Washington Street. This is the opposite direction. This is again another just picture to highlight, give everyone a frame of reference for the exact address. Running over the actual plans here, on the first floor, every unit in this building is going to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So the 6 units in total are 12 bedrooms and 12 bathrooms. The first floor is 865 square feet for each unit. Each unit is on its own individual floor. One item I want to highlight for everybody looking at this drawing is in trying to decide where to propose the building and where to lay it out, what the architect did was he tried to preserve as much green space here on the right to try to maintain as much green space for the community and also to allow for the largest amount of parking. We know that parking is a concern on West Tremlett Street. So what we proposed here is 8 private parking spots to keep the same driveway so that anybody that is ideally going to be living at this proposed site, they can pull off of the street, not create any traffic, and park privately on the property itself. Moving forward, each unit, again, it has a similar layout. Unit 3 and 4, 5 and 6 are 895 square feet. And as everyone that's watching this on video can see, this is what we describe as a double triple decker. It has a lot of the similar architectural features of a lot of the other triple deckers that are local to Dorchester, local to this area of Codman Square, as far as the bows here on the front. On the back, those that live on the first floor can access the property right from the ground level. Those that live on the second and third floor will have to walk through the common stairwell in order to access the top 4 units. There are not any porches that are located. We have 1 second. There are not any porches that are located. There's no roof decks. There's no porches that are located on the site. On the sides, there are a couple of porches for the units 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the second and third floor. And this is basically the rejection letter. This is the zoning chart that we put together as far as highlighting that the FAR in this neighborhood that the zoning code recommends is 0.4, ours is 0.69. Our group personally did assess the FAR for the entire street of West Tremlett as it currently exists, and the average is 0.761. And most 3 families have an FAR of 1 or greater. I'd just like to highlight for everyone watching this, our group did a lot of work trying to use the site and try to use it as efficiently as possible to allow for the green space and allow for private parking, as we know that that's a community concern. There was a question about affordability in that part of the project. I'm going to hand that off to Fernando, who is the owner and the builder for this particular site, to address that. That was brought up at our abutters meeting and at a meeting that we presented to WOW. Fernando, would you like to address that?
Yeah, hi everyone. Fernando Dalfio here, the builder for the project and an owner. Yeah, so the last meeting, someone was asking about the price point. Those are smaller units, and we ran some comps in the area, and we figured units from 395, 393 square foot to 452, 385 dollars per square foot. So those going to be very affordable units because they're small. So you figure 600, let's say 865 times, let's put it 452. So those will be, high threes. We don't know how the market is going to be by the time we complete the project, but that's the question they asked us last time. So they don't understand that we're not going to build something that is going to price people out of the neighborhood, something that someone within the neighborhood can afford to purchase them. So that's why the idea of building 6 small units that in 2 bedrooms, 2 baths each, that can support a price that's not too crazy.
And Ms. Loesch-Johnson, one other item that was brought up that we want to promise to everybody in the community is there was a question before as far as would the information be made available to those from the community in advance? So if they did need to figure out their financing, and we do want to promise everybody that at least 90 days before anything hits the market, we are promising to provide information to all the community members via, I think, great community advocates like yourself, with the LaQuisa who runs WOW, and anybody else. We are promising to get the information out to everybody from the community 90 days prior to anything going on the market and any open house or any showing occurring.
Thank you. Are you ready for questions?
Yes.
Were there any other thoughts, comments, or questions that came out of the abutters meeting?
Yes, they talk about parking, which we're not asking for any variance on parking. We have 8 for 6 units. As you know, it's a pretty good sized lot. So here we are with a nice sized lot with beautiful green space, beautiful mature trees, and we have options to make more parking space or more green space. So I figure, okay, so 6 units, 8 parking space, and we can preserve as much green space as possible. And those are mature trees, beautiful. Those are, those can be bought, right? So I asked that last time after one of the abutters again asked for the parking. I'm like, yes. So that's why we're here presenting to you, so we can hear from you guys to see what do you rather have? Do you rather have more parking, or you rather have like a nice green space? And one gentleman said he much rather have some, see those beautiful trees and more green space. So that's one of the questions, and one of the concerns they have was about parking.
Have you guys had any correspondence with the residents involved with the Nightingale Community Garden?
Yeah, John, we talked to one lady, right? I forgot the name. She owned a little piece right behind it, and she
did. She was concerned about how the construction might affect the land, the dirt, and what. I'm going to leave this for Fernando as the actual builder. There are certain code requirements whenever building is done to maintain and preserve what's there.
Yeah, well, yeah, with that, and also how the building is going to affect them, right? So Eric, the architect, he did a shade study showing the sun turn around the building. So basically, the building is not going to create any more shades at all than the single family that's there now, because it's pretty much right on the lot line. So Eric showed all that scenario to them, and they were very pleased with his homework. And another thing is just the excavation or the construction. How we gonna prevent any materials, any dirt to go into that garden. So basically, when you do a new project, you need the construction fencing around, and you need erosion control all the way around. That's per code. So I answered the questions, and she was pleased for it, and pleased with the answer. And again, the shady, how the building is going to affect the garden with the shades.
Janice, you have a question?
I believe on the chat, Ms. Loesch-Johnson, it was a question related to the actual design of the building, that the front, some of the people didn't like the front or the boxier look of it. That's a decision that the architect and the owners here made to try to maintain the aesthetic and the look of the neighborhood, and to try to design a building that looks similar to those that are currently on the street. There has been some discussion amongst the group as far as changing the front of the building, where without me having to spend the time sharing the screen again, I know we have time constraints here. There has been some questions or concerns about the look, and we're open to any community suggestions as far as that's concerned. If a proposal like this is approved for anybody at home watching and for anybody that's participating now, BPDA, Boston Planning and Design, will look at something like that, and they'll make recommendations to anyone going through this process before any building permit is issued regarding any look or design issues like that.
Yeah, and then I believe, John, was just one person that asked, said the building looks like a box. I think it was more because of the color, because we did try to kind of, not mimic, but kind of like go with the triple decker, the two bay windows, and Eric changed the color of the building a little bit so she could visualize better how the building is going to look. As you can see, the front elevation looks like one of the, double bold triple decker window, triple deckers. So
Fernando, can you share a little bit about other projects that you have, either within our neighborhood or outside of?
Yeah, we did one, and we did one next door on Washington Street across from the Y. We did one on what's the other street off of Washington Street? I think not Layden. Yeah, it's right there, triple decker. Torrey Street, we did just close by, right? Torrey Street, we did one. We did two on Wentworth, so all in that proximity. Pleasant Street, we work on a few of the projects right now in Dorchester, plus other areas of Boston, like East Boston and so on.
And a little bit about the practices that you have used in the past and or plan to use for this project with regard to efficiency, green building, healthy green building?
Yeah, so yeah, good question. So we just finished a project over Carson Street in Dorchester, near JFK. So we used those heat pumps, and it was only 3 family, and everybody was very pleased with how quiet the units are and how efficient. So we plan on doing the same thing in this building. It's like a small heat pumps and super quiet, super efficient. So that's what I'm trying to go forward. It's not that much more expense, and it's beautiful. Like the new owners love it, especially the AC. You spend so little in AC heating. Your heating bill is probably like a little over $100 for a month for a unit that size.
Keshler could talk more about this as a bold team, but as we advocate for greener, healthier homes and making our homes more efficient so we're not wasting money on utilities and impacting the environment in a negative way, we've learned that when you make a home really tight with insulation, you want to encourage no smoking in the home, so smoke-free housing. Yeah. We know that these are owners, so it's a little different, but as the developer, if you could advocate in any way for keeping things green and efficient and healthy, it would be helpful.
Yes, good question, and good suggestion, because the good thing about this building is 6 units. 6 unit plus, you have to hire a property management, and the condo docs are more tight, let's put it that way, and definitely that's on the condo docs about smoking and all the 9 yards. So definitely no smoking on the condo docs. So which we did that in the past as well for a larger building. Not large, it's not saying this building is large, but more than 3 family or more than 2 family.
Any other questions from anyone? I don't have any more on this list. Thank you all for your presentation. We'll be in touch. Please keep us posted on additional correspondence with the letters.
Definitely, and please let us know what the community would like, whether it's green space or parking. We are serious about that.
Excellent. So what happens next is once this is edited and posted on YouTube, you'll receive lots of comments and emails, and we'll forward them to you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Have a nice night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I want to thank everyone for their time and their attention this evening. I want to send a big thank you to our speakers, to our residents, our elected officials. We're really grateful for you guys keeping us up to date on everything that's happening in our community and allowing us to share what's going on from our perspective so that we can work together to improve the Codman Square community. On that note, I will see you all same time, same place next month. Have a good evening.